which really pisses me off. Also, I am getting some sun right now, so that's great. And I say things are pissing me off, but they're really not pissing me off. It's actually good. I'm actually very glad that things happen the way they do. So let's think about it. Let's explore the similarities and differences between the beloved, angelic, pure, innocent being that is better known in the TikTok universe as an empath, and the evil, demonic narcissist that, is lurking in the shadows, just waiting to, eat your wings off, eat you from your beautiful little halo all the way down to your little angel toes, Let's explore where it went wrong. So, a narcissist came out of neglect, abandonment, abuse. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. So, and of course we could go so much deeper into this, but at the very surface level, you have someone that was neglected, therefore they desperately are seeking attention or love to whatever degree that is to them, which is usually a very, very distorted view of it, but they're seeking it out. And they were taught at a very, very young age, early in their developmental years, they learned in their very then they're not, their limited knowledge of the world and limited experiences on which to base this belief upon, they concluded that if I do this, if I express my needs in this way and they're not met, I'll have to resort to alternative ways, which in turn, by default, the belief forms that I'm unlovable, I'm unworthy of love. Because if I sought out love from the people who were really by default supposed to show me love, if your parents can't love you, or if your caretakers at that early of an age can't love you, then surely you're unlovable. And that comes from the belief that, when I sought out love, it expressed it in this way. I did not receive it, so I must not be worthy of it. So I must resort to alternate ways of receiving love or attention or anything that I feel like I need in this world to survive. And also to a child, or really to any human, survival, is not, it's extended beyond just the main things that we associate with. So, so you have obviously air, water, food, shelter are going to be your main, your main needs, but beyond that, like the need to feel safe and loved are really, some would argue, just as equally important. If not, they are very, very closely, close behind as far as like the level, the amount in which we consider them needs. So there was an experiment done with, I want to say, koala bears maybe, where they were taken from their mother after birth and placed in an environment to where they were deprived of everything except the things that they absolutely needed to survive, being like food, water, shelter. And they were deprived of any physical touch. And they actually died. And that's a true story. And if I could give you some supporting details as to the experiment, that would probably, but I don't have to, because the fact is, it's just the truth. We need interaction. We need human connection. I would argue that it's probably just as important as the other things, because, what good is air to breathe and food to eat and shelter if it's void of all human interaction? It's just, what's the point of living? So and if that were not true, if that were not the case, I find it hard to explain how people are having responses on the like our central nervous systems are actually responding to we are having a fear response that is exactly the same as the fear response one would have to a bear in the wilderness if it were a matter of life or death in that sense. So you have people that have abandonment issues whose bodies are literally responding with the same dopamine, cortisol, adrenaline, epinephrine. They're literally releasing the same chemicals into their body as a fear response to the thought or the perceived fear of abandonment, as one would in the wilderness if potentially being chased by a bear. So if we did not need that type of interaction, if human connection, if love and emotional stability, like if those things were not as important as food, water, air, shelter, how would you explain our body literally having the same fight or flight response to things such as abandonment issues or things like that, like the emotional, like how would you explain that? Because that's actually what's happening, and it is in fact what's happening. People with autoimmune diseases are literally, it is a result of their bodies living in a constant state of fight or flight, living in a constant state of survival mode, which in turn has shut down the systems that are designed, like our immune system and our endocrine system, the functions that are there, that are in place to keep us not just alive, but to keep us in, it sounds so cliche, but like to keep us thriving. That's why that happens. Our immune systems are becoming more and more weakened and less able to fight off infections and disease and stuff. And actually, to take it even a step further, not just that we're unable to fight off, external, threats to our immune system, but actually our bodies are beginning to attack themselves because please see the symbolism in that. See the deeper. What is wrong with y'all? I'm literally just sitting here. They're going crazy. Come outside, run around for a minute, and then go back inside. Then that's what you're gonna do. But yeah, so it's crazy. It's crazy because that's how everything in this world works. Everything works in this way. Something is always as good as it's going to be until there is a threshold in which everything. Why are you doing this? Get off of me. Everything under the sun, God, everything that ever is and ever will be was created under the sun. God created everything. It's everything that's ever going to exist or ever has existed has already, God created it a long, long time ago. And all humans do is we just find ways in which to reuse it, misuse it, abuse it. Like we take everything that was designed for good and we find ways to distort it and turn it into something quote unquote bad. So everything has that threshold in which it goes from helping us to hurting us, And that's just what we do. And nothing's wrong with that, because the good thing in that is that, or the positive, or like the reassurance in that, I guess, is that all you have to do to see the good in a situation is just flip it on its head. You can be discouraged by the fact that humans are so we're so wretched that we literally can touch anything in which God has created in his divine way, you know, everything that he's created just intricately and perfectly for us to use, you know, in which to just thrive in everything in life, you know, no matter what it is or how perfect and divine it is in nature. We take it and we just touch it, and we're like the cavemen that are just like we just take it and we just bang on it until we break it or turn it into something that can be used for evil. That's just what we do. And that's not a bad thing necessarily, because like I said, the flip side of that is that all you have to do in turn is to see all the negative stuff and see how it can also be used for good. And it's a fun little game to play, you know? And so, you know, and like, let's say going back to the narcissist, you know, like what is a narcissist, like where would a narcissist be of great use? You know, I mean, like CEOs of companies, it's a great, you know, it's good to have someone in power that is absolutely void of all empathy and lacks human emotions or compassion in any way, because in business you really, there's no room for that, you know? So all it would take would be having a quote unquote narcissist as the head of a company, you know, and then right under them having a quote unquote empath that's able to, you know, kind of mediate between the robot, the machine, and the human being that, you know, keeps the gears grinding, you know. So it's really quite simple. It's not a bad thing, you know. The only reason a narcissist is bad in the first place is because of the wounded empath, you know, that sees theirself as like this innocent, you know, angelic being that's been hurt. All it is two sides of the same coin, you know. So you take a narcissist and an empath, and I'm using this in quotation marks because it's pure garbage, but, you know, put them in a setting where they're 5 years old and they're at home with their mother, and their alcoholic, abusive father, you know, goes to the front door and slams his keys down on the table as he walks in. And, you know, even from the back bedroom with playing with their blocks or whatever 5-year-olds do, you know, they can tell just based on the sound, the noise, the sound that it makes when the keys hit the table, you know, or the way the doors, or the way his footsteps hit the floor as he walks through the house upon entering from a long day of work, you know, they could tell you exactly how the rest of the night is going to go. They could tell you whether or not Dad's going to proceed to walk through the house and say, everybody jump in the car, we're going to Chuck E. Cheese, we're about to have a fun night out, you know, or whether or not he's going to proceed to beat the hell out of Mom, and then if you try to, you know, interfere in any way, you too. They have that superhuman ability, you know, that's their, like, that. So what do they do with that? Well, the narcissist just grows up, and because there's you know, there's only two paths in which you could really take, apparently. They decide that they're going to grow up and they're going to seek out the people with the characteristics just like Mom, you know, so that when they walk in the door like Dad did, you know, I mean, the last thing they want is somebody that's not going to allow them to, you know, beat the hell out of them, you know, or whatever it is, you know, whereas the empath is going to, you know, use that what would you call it? Like that, it's just like this, their intuition, you know, they have such a heightened intuition. You know, they call it intuition when it refers to an empath, you know, these angelic, innocent, and, you know, beings, but they call it hypervigilance when it refers to a narcissist. So let me put it like this. Hypervigilance would be the dog that you get from the pound was used for, fighting, that you bring home, and the first time somebody lunges at it to pet it, it attacks. That dog would be operating on hypervigilance based on their heightened sense of awareness, based, coming from the fear of the abuse that they've endured or whatever it is. But on the flip side, so hypervigilance then is like just this constant scouring your environment for any potential threats upon which, you must destroy before it destroys you. Whereas an empath would use their intuition to sense anything in their environment that could possibly be the wounded puppy from the pound that they could take home. And when they go to pet it and it attacks them, they would be the victim. Do you see? But is there a difference? I mean, there's not. Intuition is a heightened sense of your everything around you that exceeds that extends beyond the physical realm. It's everything. It's the emotions, it's the energy, it's the spiritual, like all of that exceeds the physical realm, that allows us to really have this superhuman ability to really understand almost like to read people's minds. The only difference in a narcissist and an empath is whether or not they use it to hurt other people, or whether or not they use it to allow other people to hurt them without admitting to themselves that they knew that they were going to get hurt in the first place. And we live in a world where spiritual gurus with man buns and tans and wind chimes, they can have millions of followers, and they can tell people things like, you're going to ascend, retrograde into the Gemini moon, and you're going to transcend, you're going to transcendentally, all these spiritual woo-woo bullshit words that sound good to people that just want so badly to believe that they're not the problem, and they already have in the back of their mind everything that they, it's like, it's so stupid. I mean, I wonder how many people out there want to take any type of advice or, really listen to the insight from some chick with like a orphan Annie face and a flat bill cap on, sweating her ass out, all outside of, little Haiti, that's talking about the things that don't even sound good, Because they're not trying to appeal to anybody. They're not trying to attract. They're doing it because it worked for them. And so if it worked for them, if they do it times a million, of course it's going to work for a million people, But you're saying garbage and you're saying mumbo jumbo, and you're telling people that whatever they do in this retrograde is going to catapult them into the next dimension. But like the next dimension is the one that they came from, And they're saying sit back and observe, sit back and watch. And, so Know thyself. That's what this man bun dude said. He's saying, know thyself. And sit back and observe. And this is what God is telling him to tell everybody. Sit back and observe. And watch everyone around you. And know thyself. And then also don't forget to click the like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Ooh. We're in for a great awakening, you know. I mean, we absolutely are. Okay. I feel like I'm good now. I'm gonna leave that painting out there though, because fuck that painting.